Um, Also, I'm wondering if this goes well, is it okay with you if I were to post this interview on YouTube or this consultation on YouTube? Or is that something you're against?
Uh, yeah, probably you could do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, Anyhow, that's besides the point. That's not my reason for doing this at all.
Mm,
I, I've been working a lot on the techniques that you've shared, particularly in your pranayama book.
yes.
Um, so I have a few different um, things I want to go through. I don't know if we will have enough time for everything, but I've put them in the order that I think might be the best to work through them. Is that
Yes,
okay?
I have. Yep, that's fine. I have your email, the long one that you sent
Okay.
me. I have that on screen here.
Okay. So, firstly, I'd like to go over my Kapalbhati, um,
Yep.
and then we can talk a little bit about the Nadi Shuddhi,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Ujjayi with regarding maybe the three-stage double up wave.
Right.
Um, and then I would really like to talk about the Kundalini or the Prana Shakti.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's coming more and more into it's just happening. Things are happening. I don't even know what's going on, and I would just like a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of advice on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And then if there's time, I actually have a couple questions about the Jiva Bandha and
Yes.
some other stuff, but that's besides the. For now, I'm not too worried about it.
Sure.
Okay. Um, so how do you want to proceed? Would you like me to perform some Kapalabhati and then you can let me know?
Yep.
So what
I'll
I'll
see what
do
we can
is
do.
I normally do, when I start off, I normally do 6 or 8 rounds in the morning of 100 each. So I'll do 100. Normally I start off slow
Mm-hmm.
and then I will move into a more quicker breath.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do one round in my slow starting breath, and then I'll stop, and then I'll quickly do a second round in my quicker breath. That way, you
Okay.
can let me know if, let's say, the quicker breath is not a good technique, like if my technique breaks down, anything like that.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Can you see me properly?
I can.
Okay. Okay. A couple of times there, my mouth is getting dry, so I noticed my mouth got dry. Anyway.
How do you feel now in your head?
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you are you feeling fuzzy?
No.
No. Okay. Look, the main thing that I would suggest to change is that you try to pull the rib cage really up, the sternum in the front, and focus on that you keep it lifted throughout.
And then just in moving the abdomen.
Yes. Yeah. So you keep the rib cage. Basically, the story is you take a deep inhalation, and then you keep during the Kapalabhati the chest in this position. It's called the inhalation position. Yeah.
Okay, continue, please.
So even Krishnamacharya had suggested that you could even do Jalandhara Bandha position throughout the Kapalabhati, simply to remind yourself to keep the chest hooked up that high. And so there's two rationales behind that. One is, by pulling the chest up like this, the breath volume is increased. Yeah. So the chest volume is increased, and every time when you punch the air out, the increased chest volume will simply suck in more air passively. Yeah? That's one rationale. The other rationale is by keeping the chest in the inhalation position, you're actually lifting the diaphragm away from the locus of action, which is the lower transverse abdominis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So you would find that if you do that constantly, if you constantly remind yourself of doing that, I personally find it a nuisance to do it in Jalandhara Bandha position, simply because it tends to hurt my neck.
Okay.
Yeah. But apart from that, you can try it out and see how you go with it. The main reason is that it will increase the breath volume, and that it makes the technique more powerful.
Okay. Can I try one of them? I won't go to 100. Yes. In fact, probably changing my technique like this, I'll have to reduce the number of repetitions that I do. So maybe I'll do like 20 repetitions in this form. Okay. Yeah. So the main thing is, so I'm taking in some air, and am I kind of holding some of the air up here while I'm pumping out here, or is this? Yes. Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Let's see how this goes.
Better.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to be an adjustment for me. I'll work on that.
Yes. Yeah. Now, point number 2 is the idea of Kapalabhati is to make the exhalation 4 times as fast as the inhalation.
Yes. Yeah. I remember about reading that from your side. That was something pretty confusing to me in terms of actually getting that.
And also to make the exhalation fast and active, and to make the inhalation passive.
Sorry, I missed.
Bad reception at the moment.
Yes, I missed that.
Reception at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just checking whether my wireless hotspot here is still fully awake. It is. Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
I'm on 4G. So the exhalation should be 4 times as fast as the inhalation, and the inhalation should be passive. Yeah. So the idea is here: punch of the abdominal muscles, release, punch, release, punch, release. Yeah. Rather than to make an ongoing pumping.
Okay.
Yeah. So the advantage of that technique is that there will actually be a relaxation phase for the abdominal muscles, which essentially is 4 times as long as the active contraction, and that will make you able to eventually to go harder for longer. Yeah.
So basically, I should just slow down, way down, so that I can punch it and then let it
Yes.
go, punch it
Yes.
and let it go.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So what's happening often is that students want to go too fast, too early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in the long term, it's actually detrimental.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So generally, when I'm teaching an event, I get students to start at 40 beats per minute.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think that you have to slow down that much.
Okay.
Or even if you would, just for a couple of days,
Yes.
until you really have the technique, yeah, and then speed up with that technique. It's essential that the inhalation is much, much longer than the exhalation.
Okay. Can I try? Can I try maybe 5 or 10 of them and just see if that's kind of what you mean? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me remember about my chest first and foremost. It feels kind of rigid if I'm kind of still maintaining some breath here. I feel like I'm not able to punch my stomach in the same way. I wonder if I just hold it up and kind of let go of the breath, if that'll work. So I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. You got the idea there. Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. I'll work on that. Thank you.
Yes. And so, are you working with a metronome?
I am, actually.
Yeah.
But not. I wasn't for the Kapalabhati. I was mostly just working on it with the slow breathing.
Yeah, I
Pranayams.
would work with a metronome for the Kapalabhati as well. Yeah.
Mhm.
And because simply it gives you feedback, you know exactly how fast you are.
Okay.
And so, the idea is, for example, to establish yourself at a really low speed,
Mm-hmm.
see to it that your technique is impeccable,
Mm-hmm.
and then dial it up.
Right.
So the thing is, let's say if you just try 2 or 3 days, 40 beats per minute, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just dial it up. You go next day, you go 42. Next day, usually I tell students stay 2 or 3 weeks at 42, 2 or 3 weeks at 44, 2 or 3 weeks at 46. In your case, you can probably dial it up faster, but you'd find that at a relatively quickly, you'll be at something like 60 or 70, but with having a precise technique then.
Right. Okay. So the previous one I did was okay. I think that's what I'm going to work on then.
It was okay, yes.
All right. Can we move on to talk a little bit about the Nadi Shuddhi?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. So I have a couple of things going on while I'm working on this one. 2 things. I can localize the feeling of the inhale either around the nostril area. Maybe it's called the vestibule or the external nares. I'm not even sure, but anyway, it's like around the nostril area here, or it feels like I bypass it and go towards the nasal or oropharynx area. It's still the same in-breath, out-breath. It's almost like, I don't know how it changes the locality of where it feels like it's coming in from, but and I notice when it's coming, when I localize it around the nostril, it's not, I'm missing a little bit of depth in my inhalation exhalation, whereas if I kind of bring it back, I get the depth more, but when I bring it back, I'm at more of a risk of bringing in ujjayi with like involuntary beginning to bring in the glottis into play. But then I have to kind of like consciously open it just so that I'm not. But then if I open it too much, I miss the control. It comes in and out too quickly, and I'm finding it helps to use the diaphragm as a controller but it's
Yes.
still, it feels like I need a little bit of support. So I know in your text you talk about in the Nadi Shuddhi not having any Ujjayi sound.
Yes.
Does that mean completely disengaging in the throat, or does that just mean that it might be slightly engaged, but that it's really not like the full Ujjayi sound and breath and engagement in the throat area?
So ideally you would completely disengage and not have any Ujjayi whatsoever. A part of the reason for that is that Ujjayi reduces kapha, yeah? And so if you have some Ujjayi in your Nadi Shuddhi, you have that additional as an influence, you know, and you probably want to have it kapha neutral, yeah? So what I would suggest is that your locus of where you feel the breath is actually at the diaphragm, yeah, or in the heart area, yeah. It's really the diaphragm that you actually use to control the breath in how fast it goes in or out, yeah. So I would focus on the heart area or the actual diaphragm area, and really with the diaphragm expanding and contracting, determine how fast or slow the breath goes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's actually yogis who say you can half close
Yes.
your nostrils.
Yes.
But the disadvantage, of course, is that will automatically mean that your intracranial pressure will fluctuate when you do it.
Understood. Just quickly, before speaking of other techniques, I've noticed from some other videos and demonstrations, some people go very hard into it. Like they'll blow hard, and it'll last maybe 4 seconds, and then they'll switch and blow hard. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know. You know, that's not ideal.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
on
come?
the other hand, there are Indian schools where they use a feather or even like a slight piece of cotton or even like a mirror to determine that there is almost no breath movement. That's the other extreme. I think that's going too far. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. If you at some point go to a 1:4:2:2 ratio, which is the final ratio.
Yes.
Yeah? Let's say you would inhale for 8 seconds, and then so respective the 4 for the internal kumbhaka would then be 32 seconds. Then you exhale for 16 seconds, and then you do an external kumbhaka for 16 seconds. Yeah. You have a breath cycle there that is 32, 64 plus 8 is 72 seconds. Yeah, each inhaling cycle, each cycle would be 72 seconds. Yeah, on the left nostril, on the right nostril. Now, in order to have a breath cycle that is that slow, you have to pump your lungs completely full during an inhalation that is 8 seconds long. You will certainly hear that on the side where the swara is not. Yeah. So that's why, I find it too extreme that some pranayama schools insist that it needs to be absolutely smooth.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to suck your whole lungs full in 8 seconds on that, let's say my swara is currently it's on the right,
mm-hmm.
I would have to go like, you would hear that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way
mm-hmm.
that you cannot hear that,
mm-hmm.
yeah. And if you insist on that you can't hear it, you're not allowed to make a sound at all. The only way to achieve that is to reduce your breath volume, and you shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would mean that then your breath volume would be higher on the nostril where the swara is,
mm-hmm.
compared where the swara isn't. Yeah. But what you have indicated, if you completely inhale in 4 seconds, you will have to make some sound. Yeah?
Yes, of course. But that sound would be more nasal than from the throat. Okay.
It would be. And so here's a suggestion also. Let's say I'm inhaling through the left nostril. Yeah. And let's say, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. So let's say I'm inhaling through the left nostril and my swara is on the right. What I would suggest is, so let's say you're closing the right nostril, place your ring finger on the skin just beneath the left nostril and pull it a little bit that way to open your nostril further. Yeah?
Oh,
So
I see. Yes.
Like that.
Okay.
Instead of it sounding like, it will then sound like you have a little bit more space.
Okay. That's an interesting little trick of the trade.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess that was very informative. I think going back to the where I'm feeling the inhale around, so it's not even even be bypassing this region, whether it's from here or here. It's actually I'm bringing my attention and awareness into, you mentioned like the heart area and even better diaphragm area, and just let that kind of be where everything comes from. But at the same time, I'm using the double up wave, the 3-stage double up wave in this pranayama. Well, in this breath work. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I think I will work on that. I find when I completely let go of my throat, I lose probably half of my time. Sometimes I will let go of it. There will be a slight little bit, but I will let go of it, and it'll still be long, but it will definitely not be as long as if I allow a little bit of a contraction in the throat area. But okay, that's no problem. I'm not here to try and be the longest breather. I'm just trying to do the right techniques, like you said, and then dial it up however slow it takes. It's not the issue. Okay, I don't think I had any other main. Oh yeah, well, the next one actually kind of goes towards that 3-stage double up wave with the Ujjayi. But maybe can I just quickly perform maybe one round of the Nadi Shuddhi and just to consolidate some of the things you were saying, if I have any other questions about it? Okay.
That looks good.
You know what? That was surprisingly. I was completely clear in the throat, and your advice about bringing the, I don't know what to call it, the locus of the breath or whatever down towards here actually didn't. It was great. I feel like it actually helped to keep it slow. I was surprised how slow that was able to go, effortlessly in a way. I didn't really strain to do that. So that's great. That's perfect. I'm going to totally be working on that for. I'm going to use that. That's going to help a lot. Thank you. And actually, were you able to at that time look a little bit? Did I show a 3-stage upwave? Was it okay?
It looked excellent.
Okay,
Very good.
so I don't really. I'm keep working on that. I don't really have any other questions about it. I just wanted to make sure that my 3-stage upwave was okay.
Okay.
And I'll do the Ujjayi just maybe 1 or 2 rounds, just for maybe some of the technique up here. But I wanted to do it mostly for the 3-stage double up wave. But I guess if it looks okay, then I use the same thing. It's probably actually, but sometimes. So this is something I'm working on myself, and you might be able to give me a little insight on this. But I'm noticing that sometimes, even in the Nadi Shuddhi, and also in the Ujjayi, when I'm doing the slower pranayamas, so I'll do a nice inhale and then an exhale, and then when I go back to inhale, the breath like kind of shoots the sensation in my solar plexus area instead of like starting from further down. It'll almost wanna shoot like from here. It'll feel like a little bit of a tingle in this area, not like Kundalini style, but it really is like I'll inhale, I'll exhale, inhale, exhale, whatever. And if I'm not very focused on where I bring that breath, it'll want to originate here. Is it just a matter of being mentally focused on managing where that breath and how? I wonder actually if it might even be just the way that the diaphragm wants to just shoot back open to kind of pull in the air. That's kind of what I'm thinking it is that as I'm breathing slowly, my diaphragm, as I fully exhale, my diaphragm just wants to pump back the air back in. My lungs want to grab that air back in. And so if I'm not like controlling with my musculature well enough and my mind kind of bringing things where they need to be, which is a little bit lower. Does that make sense to you? Has this been something you've experienced before?
Yes. Yeah. So you'd probably notice that if you relax your abdominal muscles completely and fully breathe into your abdomen, this is not what we want to do, but you would then find that the sensation is completely gone. Yes. So
okay.
Yeah, you actually are creating a pulling up. In fact, Uddiyana means flying up, and that refers to that. In the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it is said, Uddiyana makes the great bird of prana fly up in the Sushumna. That's the sensation that you're describing.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So maybe it is a prana effect and not just like okay. I'll keep working on it because it doesn't feel right when it kind of starts here. I feel like it needs to start lower so that I can fully come from that pelvic base to engage the 3-stage up wave. Because when it comes from when I feel that feeling here, it's like that 3-stage up wave is bypassing the first stage, and it doesn't allow me to have. Now, normally, when I do get this, I kind of control it and bring it back down here and allow this to work first, then this, then this. So, but anyway, okay. So that's just something I'm going to work on. I realize that a lot of these things seem to sort themselves out through the practice, just kind of becoming aware of them and then working through them. But at the same time, obviously, and like you say, in your text, you do also need the guidance of an expert who is experienced and can kind of guide you through other aspects of it, and then you kind of balance both.
Julian, I have to apologize, but it looks as if my hotspot is just about to run out of data.
Oh.
Could I just get a minute to refresh that, because I've done it earlier, but it must not have recognized it.
No problem.
So I'll just switch the video off, that it doesn't in the meantime cut us off.
Oh, okay, then that's great. Then I won't touch anything.
I'll
Oh, I guess it did cut us off. Okay.